Sports Talkers. Really interesting topic today. We're going to be talking about Paul George. Let's hear what ESPN Mike Greening has to say.
So the NBA Finals are set, but what if I told you the most important player in this entire series is on a team that didn't even make the playoffs? He is, and you know him well. He is Paul George, 9-time All-Star. He played in 41 games for the Sixers this year. The last of those was on March 4th. But his presence looms large in the finals. In fact, you could argue he is the reason both teams are in it. This is a story that begins in the summer of 2017. The Pacers traded George to OKC. They got back Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis. A couple of years later, Indiana flipped Sabonis to Sacramento. In return, they got Tyrese Halliburton. In 2 full seasons led by Halliburton, the Pacers have won 5 playoff series, and they've now advanced to their first finals in a quarter of a century. So that's their story. Now we get back to Paul George. When last we saw him, he was in OKC, but that didn't last long. In the summer of 2019, he was dealt to the Clippers for a package that included a 20-year-old Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and 7 draft picks or swaps, one of which turned into Jalen Williams. Led by those two, the Thunder are now 80-18 this year, and they're the youngest team to make the finals since 1977. Now, none of this is meant as a knock on Paul George. He's played well. He's done plenty of winning over his entire career, but it all is worth noting, as is this. In the 23 years since the NBA instituted a luxury tax, this is the first finals in which neither team paid into it that season. So just keep all of that in mind the next time the superstar is dealt, and the narrative is you never get full value in return. These finals are living proof that at least sometimes you do.
Paul George has been a favorite player of mine up until the point where he left Indiana Pacers. I really liked Paul George back then. He was a killer. I don't know what happened over the years, but you know what? I do know what happened. That horrific injury that he suffered while playing for USA Basketball. That essentially ended his stardom career, but it didn't end his career in total. You know, he still had a relatively successful playing career outside of that, but he's never been the same. He's never been fit for a whole season, really, and he disappears when you need him the most, whether it be through injury or just disappearing on the court, his play. Now, when he was at Indiana, he showed up. Like, I remember those days. I think Roy Hibbert was on that team, Lance Stevenson, Paul George. I think at one point maybe Danny Granger was there. But Paul George was a killer back then. Since then, I don't know what's happened, but the Pacers getting Halliburton and Oklahoma City getting Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from a trade of Paul George, even though with the Indiana getting Halliburton, it wasn't directly, but they flipped whatever they got and turned it into Tyrese Halliburton. OKC got Shai directly, and then they flipped some of what they got and got Jalen Williams, basically. So we always talk about winning trades, and we look at value in the moment. But sometimes, as you can see in this example, we have to look at the value down the line, which the value down the line overwhelmingly says that OKC maxed out this trade. They won 100-folds with this trade. Indiana, they won the trade as well. The teams that received Paul George, they were thought to have won the trade back then, but no, not so much, because Paul George is like a journeyman at this point, and he's just going around collecting his money, basically. You guys know the Clippers didn't want to pay him. I think how much did he get? Like $200 million from the Sixers, as well as 4 years, which the Clippers didn't want to give him 4 years. They wanted to give him maybe like 2 years plus a team option, which is essentially almost 3 years. and they wanted to give him way less money. And he was like, oh, just give me what Kawhi got. But they didn't value him at what Kawhi is getting. So they decided, we're not going to sign you to the terms that you want. He went out and he got a bigger deal from the Sixers. Sixers are a sucker for taking that deal. I'm really disappointed in the Sixers because the proof is in the pudding. It's like the Sixers keep on relying on putting their trust in players that keep on failing. They went and got James Harden. For what? I mean, they wanted to get rid of Ben Simmons, so I get it. Fine. But James Harden has proven over and over that he fails and disappears in the most important games. So he'll have a good game 1 and game 2. And then game 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, he just disappears. And that's happened all the time throughout his career in Houston. When he was in OKC, when he left and went to Brooklyn, let's say injury kind of fucked up the Brooklyn portion of his career. He went to the Sixers, did the same thing. With the Clippers this year, I think he made NBA all second or third team, and he still disappeared in the playoffs again. Like I think he had like a good early series, and then, as we know, later on in the series, disappears as usual. So it just goes to show that we love stars and we depend on stars, but sometimes we've got to like go younger. We've got to put some trust in the younger players, because all these stars were younger players at one point. So the strategy that OKC employed, Indiana employed, and I want to say the Boston Celtics did the same thing. Like they built their team through the draft. Golden State did this as well. They built their team through the draft. So they draft some, they trade and get some young players. So trade and get some young players, draft some young players, let them grow together. I think that's a much more sustainable model, and it also lets you pay less luxury tax. As you can see, building these super teams always ends up with the team paying exorbitant amounts of monies in luxury tax. And these two teams are paying zero luxury tax right now. And they have the best teams in the league. So that's all I got to say, sports talkers. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm out.